At the heart of living this is a story about death affirming life. It's about how in the wake of this man realizing that his life is coming to an end, he's pressured into living. And I suppose why I always thought this was an important story to tell now and again to our society globally today is that we sort of live in distraction. We live looking down at our cell phones, and we live sort of digitally, and we live in the future. We're always just thinking about the future, and I think that it's such an interesting idea to really try and take a step back and wonder what it does mean to actually just be present in the real world and in your actual life. And this man has just been doing things. He's been, sort of rhythmically going to the offices and rhythmically raising his children and rhythmically kind of just letting day by day pass. But nothing has really kind of given him a sense of purpose. Nothing has really kind of, driven him, and he hasn't been present in a desire to live. And I think that a lot of people today, we all think that we're living, but if we really are interrogated, but if we have that present desire in our daily lives, like what gets us out of bed truly, like what really does make us happy, what really does inspire us, and what are we doing in our daily life that is actively trying to get us to a place of even greater inspiration or appreciation? I mean, the answer is that most people are not. The thing about that period of Japanese cinema is that there's sort of a photographic kind of brilliance to what they were doing, what he was doing particularly. Just the framing. I'm a very photographic person. My background is in photography, so for me, every frame of Ikaru is like a magnum photograph. And so that was the kind of panic attack that I had, was just going, okay, I need to not imitate any of these images. I need to think of my own, but knowing that I'm up against somebody who's such an extraordinary visual artist. My reaction was that it's very long. It's a very long script. I mean, it was interesting to see the original film again, read Ishiguro's first draft, and just see how he had, what he had chosen, how he had so cleverly adapted a story that we set in the same time period in the early 50s, but from one society to another society post Second World War, and how many interesting comparisons there were between a very deflated society like the Japanese were after the Second World War. And although the English sort of had the narrative of being the victors of the Second World War to a degree, there was still a sense of deflation here. So, I mean, that's the genius of somebody like Kazuo Ishiguro. He's fascinated, I think, by this particular period and the nature of British society and Stoicism and the sort of collapse of the Edwardian world order that sort of came before the wars. The nature of the story of this film is that the character goes through two very particular kind of episodes, and they're sort of driven by his interaction with two particular kinds of people. And that first one is a bohemian kind of artist that he in the original goes on this night of reverie with, and then the second, of course, is the female character who works in his office, who's meant to just kind of be this incredibly youthful, full of life, bubbly, carefree person. And these two episodes are meant to kind of inform when he has this epiphany about what he can do with the days that remain. And so archetypally, we obviously wanted to match those two characters particularly. And I think that our character, Margaret, and I always said particularly to our costume designer, I said that, we represent her as sunshine. And obviously Sandy Powell being so smart, she actually gave the actress these earrings that she wore in every scene, I think, which were sunflowers. And so it's that quality that she had to bring as a character, and I think that's quite similar to the original film. Yeah, our attitude to period was definitely about not wanting it to feel dated or stale. Maybe I think what Ishiguro was saying is that he didn't want it to sort of not be effervescent or sort of contemporary in its appeal to an audience today, because it's set 70 years ago. And I don't know how we achieved that. I think what I focused on was that I wanted to make a film that celebrated certain conventions of films from the 50s. And because Ishiguro has such a vast knowledge of films, particularly from England, and watches movies insatiably, and so he fed me a lot. He sent me a very long watching list, and he sent me a lot of movies and kept suggesting things. And so in his writing in the script, he's also celebrating cinematic pieces of work that he's loved. So I think that's what came into the directing of the film, was me taking that further and making a film that in itself is kind of a love letter to films from the 50s. Mr. Nye is extraordinary. Bull, what is it like to work with Bull? I mean, it's sort of like a privilege, it's just a very, it's a once in a lifetime experience to work with an actor who understands the craft of acting in a way that I've never been around. He has a quality which is that he must exist in a place of truth in everything that he does as an actor, and to see somebody work so diligently to find that place of truth in every given moment in front of the camera and in the preparation of playing a character is just another kind of, perfectionism that Bull obviously has as well. And the nature of how he plays the famous Bill Nye on a film set and how people just sort of are so in awe of him is because he's such an approachable, such a sort of kind and timed person. It made my job fairly easy because he was kind of our, he was our master and commander in that way.